On la so, on kaja, Tsigasan. Ta ngrena thoma, ta milici totsare, mili jin zonte, meji yin zonte, ta rongi jetenale, non tuci mea mesere. Cereselangrena Chidrujugu Toteos Sen Ndrzegi Chedr. They in this Senteleta Andamdra Mumbo Yorite in a Ridogana Tammegeviku Nontoji, Lumatenji Tobachi, Yona Gevi Tobachi. That Tessanjan number Tobaji in the Zonte. Then the here is. Tatumena said Chamare Raro Atabu, Gyatso Atabujiri. Then by Imba to Jeji and Zonte gave a Gelomata and Sanjin di here. That Tambiche Niedi Nandra, Drudi Nandra, Tana, Mani, Sachimman, and Shachimma now. That Tupa Cheper change gonet and Tambiche Drute, and Renayon gave her the Letomboale. Ta rungi julle ta she shene toba chebar chenchi she gihyar ta she jute hund mandro na tene yona loma ten rend hyore yona mege toba je rend hyore te ge toba re se juda hachung kambore te indi thoma rungi julle ta she jira hachung karchamba ye so yar.
So now, in relation with this teaching, that we have obtained a human form, and as a human being, then each and every individual we have our own mind stream, and then in relation with this, we give rise to any sorts of thoughts. So, in relation with the practice of Dharma, then the essence is how we can tame our mind or subdue our mind. So, in a way that we may have, many different kinds of mind and thoughts that which may kind of, arise. So, whatever sorts of thoughts may arise, but everything can be condensed into three major thoughts, which is known as the non-virtuous thought or neutral thought, and then virtuous thought. So other than that, we may have kind of thoughtless, for instance, like when we are kind of, become too intoxicated or fainted, or just in coma, and then there is no thought. Otherwise, whatever sorts of thoughts may arise, it will condense into these three. So when we are doing Dharma practice, whether we are listening to Dharma teaching or whether we are doing practice, even we chant one single Om Mani Padme Hum or one single prostration, that it has to be related with a kind of a special thought, that by which means examining one's own mind stream. It is very important to watch or examine one's mind, and without examining one's own thought or mind, then possibly we may be in neutral or the non-virtuous thoughts maybe most of the time, and it is very difficult to give rise to virtuous thoughts. So that is why in the beginning it is important to always watch one's thoughts.
Katsung Rinpoche ka asime pa mumpa songtia rong sentendur gis. Te tatare te sen dovara shepa la tumbo rong jole toshi shen rong sen no chitre hiyo dutajite dido jumbar karchir. Ngarana nomba sonje ba indi ta sendur jite zochar sendur ane lipa te sendur ane dewa toks. Senji song de ma hina de to dunghar yang de jang de da de me jenar chang so. De indi zochewa senri. Benan de so ra Sherab and Litzola, Johnson on Ngonit, they should to be young to trust only. Sonji Jonden Deji, Cheten, Rung Senji. Jutin Durtigi here. That Jutin, the Lule number of Mamboy and Dodon Ha, Tibarba Gule. That Tartus Zoba Chembuchin also land, touch his Londe gate pa, that Regi Nyasaland to Mumboy. Tandata, Sender Sena, Saint John Sena, Saint Sena, Santa Sena, Do Sonji Jagin Zonte. Just send go about the Queen of Sunday, Sonny. Send a sailing. That dramatic down here, they hitting on the Chuna, tell so jester. They in the Arna Lea Tombo Bale, Chebat, Tawatsomiche, Gombatsomiche, Shonchug sent it, Shonchug sent the cherry sena, send the zeg, tap cheberche. Rishonchuk Santele, Nyamba, Chodom Toba, Mandreba Gishore, Jishodon Limag, Toba, Mandreba Gishore, Loma Tenja Toba, Mandreba Tele, Shonchuk Sari, Shonchun Sonji Gobon, Tedon, Tetobi, John To, Tedon Chandrava, Tanambala Tele, Shonchuk Sans. Tenana Teba Chambogi Chi. Songha de Parsho, Dolang Teba Chamber Genius Lena, Yeti Chu Metachagi, Rogin Genji.
So, as earlier Holiness has taught that we have to subdue our mind. So in that way, the practice is just to subdue our mind. And to subdue our mind, we have to just examine or watch our thoughts, what kind of thought is arising and what kind of just mind is there. So in Buddhism, in these practices, most essential point is to tame one's mind or subdue one's mind, because in the just sutra also it says, whoever tame one's mind is excellent, and whoever tame one's mind is that experience the bliss. And if we could not, subdue our mind or tame our mind, then of course that there is not real, dharma. So that is why that is subduing to follow that kind of practice to subdue our mind or tame our mind is important. Even though that non-Buddhists, they also have certain different kind of practices, but most subtle methods are taught in the Buddhism that by Shakyamuni Buddha to subdue the mind. Then for to subdue or tame our mind, then there are many methods according to Sutrayana, according to Vajrayana, according to the nine yanas of these practices. But here, since everybody just try to follow the practice of Dzogchen, then according to Dzogchen, then there is what is called Chese Longde, which means all the phenomena are exhausted into the nature, or kind of or that how to maintain that kind of just awareness, and in relation with that the practice of of mind and the subjugation of mind or purification of mind and so forth. There are all this practice. So also according to the text which says that Sangapati Kuyungusum there, which means that our the mind, all the conceptual and discursive thought mind got seized, then we just actualize with the ultimate Buddha nature. That where there is no more kind of this relative mind, where we actualize with that ultimate wisdom, then one attains Buddhahood or the enlightenment. And according to that, then there is the practice on view, meditation, and moreover the bodhicitta. So because the bodhicitta is the heart essence practice in Buddhism, that which is not not affected by any sort of afflictive emotion, and then the bodhicitta vow is not looking for to get rid of this, fear or just wishing for some kind of, happiness in the three upper realms, and that way the bodhicitta practice is in a way according to the Sutrayana, the Mahayana practice, which is important, and then also in the Vajrayana, that which one must have to generate the bodhicitta.
Rinpoche, Kambalambari, Tita Barsung to hear it, Tayana, Cable Chilling and Tensor. Chi Drubale, John Drutrse, then somebody such here. Kunuyong Tabaji Chima Hina, Tachi Tiba Chambo, Druba Chambiche, Lenai, Nyans Lenaion, that on the Yet on Jigone, Chinyans Legana, Tiba Membagi, Lanta Jitolna, Antombari. Koale Tartan Shona on Tamboremato, Sonji Gohon Tojumare, Tenison Sembi Salolangi and then I hear Mare, they in the Tocheva Kunhunchi the Garchi here, they in the Takunjelonja and Jungle Soera, Jungi Jison, Jora Sensi Gimi Bamijil and Hoyan Samba, the Talandri Bijiba no things, that Sonji Gohon Drubala Yuti to me touch up. Jora Sense Tamba, Nigimi Tamba, Jing Hoa Tambas. Chirisena gave at the Tabjis membership, a little Sense Kuno Jora Sense Tamba. Geva Tanchi Tan Narena Zamba don't Chebaji, Chete Drugana, pay him, Mare, Tingi Gimi Tamba, Geva Nigimi Tamba, take here. Tak Gevate, Kone Kondu Pevar Shepala, then Jumhoa Tamba de Gihir. They in the Tombo, Takuno Jora Sense Tamba Tell, Sutong Kun Sena, non tu Mumbochi Genoni, Talon Sena, that gave to Bachever Chengia long gears on.
So then. Even though I thought to explain all this, basically the intention, of course, Holiness and Kembos and other Tugus and teachers were, constantly giving all this, teaching. But something just taking more important and more serious. So that is why I thought to explain that it is important how we know how to do the practice, but it is more important the manner of the practice. So for that, most important is the intention or the motivation that as according to the Dzogchen practice or the Mahayana practice, that even one say oneself is practicing Dzogchen or the greater vehicle, but if one have kind of selfish kind of thought or self-care, then it may fall into the kind of Hinayana or the lesser kind of just vehicle. Still still it is good, and even one may have liberation from the samsara. It is also just good, but still one cannot attain that complete enlightenment. So to attain complete enlightenment, then one must have to just generate the bodhicitta, that as the great Dzogchen master Longchen Ramcham has said that there is the preparation and actual and then conclusion. For the preparation, that which is based on the bodhicitta, which is called the bodhicitta as the supreme bodhicitta as the preparation, and then the actual practice, and then the conclusion. So any kind of practice, the virtuous activity we do, if it is not been influenced by some special method, then not necessarily it become a cause for liberation. So in the beginning, not to fall into the kind of self-cherishing kind of practice, then there need the bodhicitta, and then to get rid of any sort of attachment and grasping in relation with those virtuous activity, then need the just actual practice of understanding or non-conceptual meditation, and then to develop and increase all those virtue, then one need that dedication part. So in that way, the first is that the intention or motivation that where always one need to generate bodhicitta, that in Tibetan kun, which means all sorts of thought, long means something arising in relation with the virtuous thoughts.
In the Tombo Rungi Jula Tani, ta Megavi Toba re incoming. Megavi Toba is a Chayana Tanji Shogji Kumoya here, Limaga Kumoya here, Tena Megavi Kumoya here. Yena Ngrana Tombo Che Tombo Hudi, Pachere Jisho Doyona Lima, Yona, Taluma Tenji Tobaji Pache Che Kukiana Hakumari. Tatuma in Jaman, Raman Rayer. Jersena Takake, Nancho Hiligeris, Takika Pente Chema Tony Mary, Tanga Soni Hindore, Matroze, Matruze, Jitsen Chiki here is. Tate Tumbo Chela Huze, Gota Buchirete, Yenatan, Tata, Shenaten, Hika Matroze Kerusena, then Sonja Zendumi Pachire Omara, the Deo Penanjisho, Jikono non Rotari. Then Tata Chiki and Teo Chigi here, Pena Pejigana. Tenet Sendeli Jarbu Chebandu, Tenen Neji Jibandu, Mugin Jibandu, Shobi Cheki Gayanane, Tenji Shori. Teo Megavi Conor. Yona Tsen Dele Dedze, Shidze, Juyoze, Subashin Ducho Zenda, Tendaji, Sonlo Tonji Cheki Gayanane. Then Limaga Kunoyar. Tayin the Teo Megavi Kunoy here. Tendrasi Chi Kugana, Taroni de Sam. Pen Sijire Matute Pembachi, Marichi Sejun, Nomba Sonjebi Chesejun, the Nekadon Tatugi. Tapen de Malipa Jose, Tatu Sonjeko Hung Josegi Chiria. They in the Chid or Rong somebody Kagaret Sakiori. They in the Megavi Kunon, Jisho Dolimeno, Duyan the Pongi, so.
So then, in the beginning, that as somehow always one have to examine one's mind, watch one's thought, through which one need to abandon whatever kind of negative thoughts, and also the thought of to get rid of all the fears, and then thought of to experience some sort of happiness and peace. For instance, if we receive all this Dharma teaching, most of the time our thought or our intentions are involved, that how one can get rid of those fear, or how one can just experience a better life, and then otherwise kind of more neutral thought. So in that way there may be kind of diversities of thought, but not necessarily it is the right motivation. And then in many of times we just receive the Dharma teaching because we are scared of death, and then thinking, oh, just when death happens, what I'm going to do. And that is also just kind of receiving the Dharma just to get rid of that fear. And then for instance, as in kind of like a example, just if there is a king kind of punishment, or oneself is scared of that, and then certain kind of sickness or warfares and famine, and for that purpose, if we receive the Dharma, then that is also where just our intention is just to get out of those fear. And then otherwise, we may receive those Dharma teaching to do some practice because our intention is that, in this lifetime I may be more happy, more peaceful, or I may just become more rich and wealthy. So that kind of just intention is what it is called wishing for the happiness of this life. And so those are part of like a kind of the non-virtuous thought, and where we concentrate for one's own kind of happiness and peace. So there is no much, of course, within this lifetime there may be some good result, but there is no much benefit. So according to the Buddhism of the teachings of Shakyamuni Buddha, then mainly it is, of course, two, that the temporary benefit and ultimate benefit. And then the ultimate benefit where we are just thinking to attain complete enlightenment. So that is why when we have received this teaching to get it through practice, then we need to have that right intention to attain enlightenment, and rather than just kind of the thought of to get rid of fear and for the benefit of this life, just one should to abandon like a poison.
Loma tenji to bache so ta loma tensena Pedeo cheji drugore cheji hugore kowaji shekor ngaru tongji shetiri nyanen ro tende tamatu tene ji shole mesena ndamanda kunlong songe choyo mara te loma tenji kunlong sr te cheges loma tenji kunlong kene 다 체온젠드 셴나 탈비 사반자 테레마토 롱게 kunlong 셴나 탈비 사반자 메테오 손 대인데 로마 땡기 도바티 체게스.
So then the neutral thought. So neutral thought is like when somebody is going there to listen teaching or doing circumambulation and kind of involved with some kind of dharma practice, then oneself without a specific thought, just one also kind of take part into it, and there is no any specific virtue or non-virtuous thought. So that way it is kind of neutral. So that in a way just involved into such kind of that practice, it also cultivate a seed for the liberation, but in reality still one could not have the right real practice, but still it is good to have such thoughts in the beginning.
Gevito balao sungyo hiar Shibuson Jalan say now children, Jidan and Jidel and they be table. Talon Husa, you hear us, sir. Tapena Shibu Chung, Langerin Bacherisena, Neche Drujude, Taturi Ladomi, Cohonte, Demo, Shimoji, Pemata, Teletozeg, Ched Drutena, Tanjide Tibari, Shibu Chung Lange. Taken non-chung koale taviti amare, penalaiumbo jacinta jilil now, co-gilete do Sarena meno sendo here at the call Talanto Johamare, Penateri. She be chungulante or gepayo mares.
So then, in relation with the virtuous thought, then there is a three-person, the path of three-person. So, or that the worldly and transcendent world, kind of practice. So the within the three-person path, that based on their intention or motivation, the small, this which is called small or lower level of the person's practice is just wishing that one may liberate from the three lower realms, and then obtain the just human or God, and wishing for that kind of just happiness. It is what is called worldly kind of yana that doesn't really liberate. For instance, like the king of the God Indra, that when his karma exhausted in the heaven, then after when he die again he will fall down into the just hell realm. So that is also not the right motivation.
Then Shibun Ringilang Senata Nyerungi Kobon Tojugi Reva Seneta Koale Taratang Urete Yena Tege Do Runde Ijeg Sambare. They in the take of Tatu Sonji Kobon Don, then Heka Soncho Sembi Southern Longi Yante Maritella Pembachi Amares.
Then, second, the middle level of mind, that which is called middle person practice, which is in relation with the Hinayana, such as like Sharvakyas and Patek Buddha's kind of intention, that of course they can liberate from the suffering of samsara, but still one doesn't attain complete enlightenment, because it is involved of welfare of one's own just self or one's own benefit. So that the ultimate benefit or result, one could not attain enlightenment, and temporarily even one could not obtain all those qualities of the bodhisattva.
Ta tena ta jinji sholi mai nandra tiba membulang nandra tena le kumlo shejana nendot ronda ijeres. Ta ronda ije ke sonje ji kopon to kiamari. Te indi ta chigere sana shibu chembu shonchu chodu sense ji te karchembore.
So, however, those kind of following the path in relation with the to get rid of fears and having aspiration for the happiness of this life, or the Hinayana way of just intentions, is somehow it is just related with the one's own benefit or kind of self-cherishing. So that doesn't help to attain enlightenment. So now what one have to do is, according to the Mahayana, the greater vehicle or greater person's level of that intention one have to cultivate.
Rinpoche ke chetung ma sung la men zeng guo le ma long ka dong nyam bi san jian tang ji zu bu song ji ji guo bong to de yi che du song de che de song de hiao da de yin di nang ki ta dong nyam bi san jian se nang ka le ce yo ma re o de da de san jian ge lao ce yo hiao ma re ta dong ce me bi nang ka dong nyam bi san jian tang ji pa ma ma jur pa de ne yo ma re they in the Pama in the Zonte, Tata Grana Tanjo Jumilito, Gavikin Jal, Tambichete Judi, then Pamitinete, Trinatari, Mantrinatari. They in the Pama Sanjantanje Pari Yane Ronichi Butarsenana, Tanjideming Hasoli Hena, Deletino Sacha Mejra. Tambicheli Hena, Sonji Kopon, Tatame Bajere, they in the Then Nanki Tadonyam be Sanche Tan Jemi Yurdishene, then it Dumar Jundreni don't Trandegi, Inje. That Deva Jundreni, Tone Tartu Sonje Kopon Tod Gaze, that Shamba Chembu, Gay Sunni San Tanyin to them, but then Shanjuk Sen, they owned up a Chijole Shetu Grit, Gong Jegage Teres.
As Holiness give all this, Dharma teaching, then of course, in the beginning where it explains that to generate bodhicitta, to liberate all the parently sentient beings equal to space, and in that way, where we, try to train our mind. So the space, the sky, there is no limit. So similar like that, there is no limit of the sentient being. So there is no no borders and no limits. In that way, just we have to understand, how all these countless sentient beings are in one or other lifetime is one's parent, and through that, how we can just think that how we can repay back the kindness of all those parently sentient beings, and that way one have to just generate the bodhicitta rather than just thinking of one's own benefit and not caring for all the suffering parently sentient beings in the samsara. Then of course it is in one way it is very shameful, and also it is not real kind of dharma. So that way one have to think of that all the parently sentient beings equal to the space as a object that which one carry through this practice, and in relation with that then one have to generate compassion in relation with the cause and the effect of the suffering of the sentient beings, how one wants to liberate from them, and also the loving kindness, just concentrating on the cause and the effect of the happiness of the sentient being. So in that way, one have to generate the bodhicitta, which has the two aspects as compassion and loving kindness.
Tene pa mala so barungi ninyewa na legam, tene barma na legam, tene tarungi tseldi dongi dra, rujenji dras, da nebi ge, rejabu tsema mola so tena lagam, tarnang ke kachag senjen tanje pama imbalan rane, ten senjen tanje ma hepa ten temba ten zonde jigani, ten shonchuk sente jula mashe jipadi yone gang gishin yores. Then Samale, Joe Jejamenga, Shana, Jundemenga, Dindinji Gone, Gahiring, and Kunjaya Seki Shagili, the Mari Hiba Tin, Temba Trins on the Nonche Soji Gopon, Tunde Tigone Tene, Shonjuk Sente, Chima Maimpa, Chijula Maseki Padi, the Gangiris, Ganjo Terre, Kuno Chijo Terroris.
Then that where we kind of say when we generate bodhicitta, that to the thought of liberating the all sentient being equal to this space. So just saying by that, still it doesn't work. So one really need to generate from one's own heart, or from core of one's heart, that first one meditate in relation with this one's present mother or present parent, and then later one generate that just compassion or loving kindness to those one's more relatives, and then friends, and then so forth, and then later to all the sentient beings, even to one's enemies, whoever is kind of very mean and harmful to oneself, because they are also once or other time is one's parent, and then all other sorts of negative forces such as spirits and so forth, they to them also one have to generate the bodhicitta. So then where one understand the kindness of the parent, and then also one wants to repay back the kindness of the parent. So according to the George Atisha's kind of instruction, then there are kind of 7 aspects of the practice, but according to Nyingma, that based on the Longchen Ramcham's instruction, then where we just try to think that understand the kindness of the parent, and also we want to repay back the kindness of the parent in the best way, just how we can liberate them from the suffering of samsara. So that kind of bodhicitta, something, uncontrived, bodhicitta has to be arise, and that one have to meditate on it, and also it is the one's, intention or motivation.
Dotredana ronde ije jingumba tenderge hiares. Narena pundu zege zawa. Ngadon daden zimbin resena dotredana ronde ije ender. Tenderge hiare tendora shepala shunjuk sente yote chume tacha. Tadu sonje jukopon tobale yote chume tachare. Shunjuk sente Kikune Lona, Geva Jachin Chioman, Geva Chunchum Madrona, Zongi Jason Jitis and Sonja Jukopon to the Gujurin to hear it. Sonchuk Sandy Erna, Jisholi Meche the Drugamare, Mendo Yendo, Sendi, the Shilon Shenhendra, de Hulan here. Send don't see me, Deva don't Lebatan Hulan here. Penna Shankan Lotoya Bojira. Tan Ruyabo Girana, Zadon Dotteron Hugon here, but Tetabujire. Te Ched Drugamarite, Sonchuk Sante Jula Siene Zonte, Soma Jegipad, Jarbuji, Takin, Tunking Rabitabuji, Sewane Sewa Mumbole Landron, Jarbuji, Jairi, Tendragelen, that Jopadon Jorbe, Jembili. Tromé lona en temps, songe du coron, matog pas de songe 5 6 bigatene, me bon mesure. Qu'on est complet d'une journée, tatu songe du coron tondro son.
So, in relation with this, in a condensed way, is how we can try to abandon the self-cherishing or that, self-attachment. Because the whole complete problem that how we are getting rebirth into samsara is because of that self-attachment and self-cherishing, where it says, the grasping or clinging to I or oneself is the, worst spirit, evil spirit or negative force. So if we have bodhicitta, then we have everything, and if we don't have bodhicitta, then we don't have any method. So that way one have to just understand. And then even we do a just very, very small virtue, but if it is influenced by, the bodhicitta and then the, actual practice and dedication, then that naturally become cause for liberation and, enlightenment. Even that kind of, just to get rid of fear and to experience that kind of happiness for this present life, those are also, just kind of instantly accomplished as one do the kind of, real practice to attain, enlightenment. Then it is like a kind of, just a side benefit that one can have all this kind of wealth and happiness and luxuries and fame, and these are just instantly one could experience. For instance, if you plant these kind of crops, and then if you have a very good crop harvest, then side by there are all these green grass also just naturally grow in that way. So as we, kind of concentrate our, practice in relation with the, obtaining enlightenment, then, just all those kind of, side, just benefits one will naturally just, obtain. Even one obtain as a king and have all this kind of wealth and do all this kind of generosity, practices, but still, if one doesn't have the bodhicitta, one could not, just really attain, enlightenment. So if we have bodhicitta, and in that way, if one, involved any sort of practice, and then that will just, increase, and then ultimately one can attain, Buddhahood.
Oh, that's it.
So now Rinpoche will stop, his teaching today here.
Oh, yeah.
Pamje Zigba Nye, Tumne Nyebe, Tranam Pamje Shing Kek, Palab Tuba Yi,
Sipin Zolen Rogan Rovarasho, Rinjeng Sondi Rovakan, Dodo Dambi Shetamin Rashin, Ranshin Dunyin Zoban. Shengan Rubin Jiten Zevarasho, Sanjin Demban Dashin Jevarasho, Semjen Damjin Dishin Jevarasho, Nindan Zendun Jelan Jevarasho, Ranshin Dunye Lunjin Rumarasho, Jeva Kundu Yanda Lama Dan Ramin Shijin Balalam Satan Lam Jiyen Den Raso Nebal Den Lami Kompan Yondo.